These cartoons have a message behind them. They're editorial in nature. A cartoon that wouldn't resonate with someone about suicide awareness may be the life change that someone else needed.
Yeah.
The whole point of doing this was to get a conversation started. That I would present a topic in a cartoon form that would take you 10 seconds to either read it, love it, hate it, whatever emotion that would generate. But my sincere hope is that would generate a conversation. I've got, 3 different styles of cartoons that I'll do. Tickle treatments. I'll be going, just for something just silly that I've seen around a firehouse. It's only there for laughs. And there's some ones that are like punches and jabs where, I'll use humor, but still make a point. Mm-hmm. But then there's ones where I just go for the throat. Yeah. And there's no humor meant to be there, but it's that shock factor. It's that impact that I'm looking for.
Meant to be poignant.
And I will even publish a couple of funny cartoons leading up to it, just so the shock factor is a little bit deeper when you see it. Artists are emotional, and I do my best work when I'm mad. I really do. If I'm angry about something, that's when my best work comes out, because that is when I am at the most focused, the most intense. And, you're going to get a cartoon that's, again, it's that punch in the gut. There are people that are going to get more out of reading a cartoon for 10 seconds than they would if they sat in a class for an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah. Welcome to Hey Chaplain. My name is Jared Altick, and I'm a chaplain with the police department. I spend a lot of time with police officers, and I believe that they deserve more encouragement than what they usually get. So on this podcast, you'll hear from officers who have been where you are, sharing their wisdom, experiences, and the lessons that they've learned. From the LAPD to Scotland Yard, the guests on Hey Chaplain are going to help you navigate with confidence through your career and beyond. If I could ask one thing of you today, it would be that you would share this podcast with one other person. That's how podcasts grow. Show them on their phone where to get it and how to get it, and then help them download an episode if they're not sure how to do that. But tell them why you feel you gained something from listening to Hey Chaplain. Your recommendation will mean all the world. Today I'm giving you part 2 of my interview with firefighter and illustrator Paul Combs, where we talk more about the first responder as an artist, about critics responding badly to our work, and we also talk a bit about chaplaincy. If you've not listened to the entirety of part 1, then go back and find that episode. It's episode 094. Listen to that, and then come right back here and listen to this second part. Here's illustrator and cartoonist Paul Combs. You mentioned a couple times the class that you teach.
Right.
Which class are you talking about? Are you talking about an art class? Are you talking about something else?
Oh, no. So I do a class called Be the Target. And it's about caring and doing something about it. Mm. And it is the fact that if you are a target, that is not always necessarily a bad thing.
Okay.
That having that target on you means you're doing something right, that you're making that difference, because the person sitting on the recliner rarely has the target on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're wanting to be that person that goes out and makes that change, you got to be willing to have that target. You've almost got to want to have that target. And then the class dives into not only being able to put that target on you, but what to do once you get it. And how to deal with that backlash. And that's when I was talking about, I add my fan mail and how I respond sometimes. Yeah. And it's in a funny way because, you wrestle the pig in the mud, you're going to find out the pig likes it.
Right. Yes.
So when people, people really go at me sometimes, I have fun with this. I always take the high road.
Right.
But I have fun doing it. And so I share that, and it's always a good laugh in the class. I usually put up 5 or 6 cartoons where I've had this kind of reaction. But the whole point of that being that you've got to be willing to do something. And take that passion and that love you have and make that difference.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about making this podcast. There are other chaplains out there who have been doing this longer. There's chaplains out there that have more degrees and letters behind their names. But I feel like I have the ability to do this show.
Right.
And that's a skill set that I think God gave me and I've worked my whole life on, and this is my niche. But boy, people get angry. Like, how dare you be getting attention? How dare you be talking about something?
Exactly.
And I, mercy sakes, I don't ever present myself as the expert per se. I mean, I'm an expert on my own experience, but that's
Yes.
it, you know?
Yes. Yes. I can tell you how I've lived life through my lens.
Yes. And that's all
Yeah,
I'm trying to say.
But it's sometimes the people that are the maddest are the ones that the cartoon strikes the most because they're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How dare you call me out?
And there are a lot of irresponsible people out there who are in leadership, or maybe they're chaplains, but they're chaplains who are retired on duty. They're not really doing anything. And so, they're a chaplain at a big agency, but no one in the agency knows their name. And so, so those people get mad at me from time to time.
Yeah, I'm sure. So how long have you been a chaplain?
I've been a pastor at a church for almost 30 years.
Okay.
And in that capacity, I was called out to suicides and stuff like that, just to help in the community. But my predecessor was a police chaplain, and so it was always in the back of my brain, and God kept putting cops in my church. And so I made it formal about 6 or 7 years ago. Okay. And, did the background check and got the shirt and the jacket. And actually started doing all that.
I was going to ask if you were a law enforcement, if you were an officer as well.
No, I'm not. Okay. No, and see, that's another thing too. And so I'm not a first responder. Don't come from a first responder family, but I've dove into it. And I mean, I've been on the homicide scenes. I've done the ride-alongs. I've been in the fire station. I've immersed myself into this with a passion. And so I've learned very quickly. I'm autodidactic, and I've picked it all up. And then I bring people who are experts and have authenticity and authority to speak about it, and I ask them good questions, and that still brings out the haters. And so,
it does. It's funny you say that, because you remind me so much of our chaplain.
Oh, really?
We brought him in after my lieutenant's suicide because we didn't have anything set up. We had no way of dealing with that type of crisis within the firehouse or within the families.
Yeah.
So my former chief, he didn't do a lot of things right, but he did that right.
Excellent.
Again, he's one of these people that he's tactically brilliant, but he has no clue how to manage people.
Yeah.
But he brought our chaplain in, and he was actually the pastor of my wife's church. And he like you, he didn't have any type of first responder background to him, but he responds to all the calls.
Yeah.
And he dove into it, and he got counseling on how to counsel others and first responders.
Yeah, that's a good chaplain.
He just, he bought in to what that culture is, because he knew the guys weren't going to come and talk to him unless he did.
I was going to ask you too, do you have any chaplains that appear in your artwork? I can't recall if I've seen that.
I've never drawn one.
Never drawn one. That's all right.
I've never drawn one.
Well, it sounds like you have a good model in your past, if you ever include one. Yeah. Because boy, there are some awful chaplains out there. They're just hard. In fact,
really? Okay. You got to explain that a little bit. So what makes a horrible chaplain?
I'm going to hit stop. So I could have plausible deniability if you use this in a cartoon someday. How much do you think your artwork has helped you in your mental health?
Oh my gosh, so much. I am so fortunate that I have this ability to compartmentalize and to bring that out into something that's creative. Mm-hmm. I like to say that, I have ghosts, but they don't haunt me. And they don't haunt me because I have a way of dealing with them in a creative fashion.
You make them work for you.
In some instances, yeah. I did a cartoon. I was flying to Toronto one time, and like a lot of firefighters, I had a fire department t-shirt or sweatshirt on while I was in the airport. Someone sat down to me, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're a firefighter. How cool is that? What's the worst thing you've ever seen?"
Yeah.
And, you get these questions every once in a while. And it's one of those things where I politely dodged and deflected, but my ghosts were riding with me for the rest of that trip. Because now they've got me thinking about the worst thing that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I'm fortunate in the sense of they're there. I'm aware of them. I know that they can be triggered at any moment, any time, from any sight, any sound, any taste, whatever it may be. But I'm not haunted by the things I've seen. And I attribute to that being able to put those thoughts into cartoons, dealing with that in a way of, hey, I see you, I recognize you now. Let's use each other to make a difference.
Yes.
Like you said, have them work for me. I also have a book that no one has ever seen. My wife, my daughter, no one has ever seen this book. And that is where I sketch out some of the darkest stuff that I've seen over the past 25 years in the fire service. It's some of it's just scribble. Some of it is detailed. Most of it is, if you were to see it from the outside, you may not even quite understand what you're looking at, but it is to get those dark thoughts out and those dark emotions out and put them somewhere, again, to get them out of here and here. So I'm dealing with it in that way. I'm very fortunate that I have that ability.
Yeah, that's therapeutic for you.
I wish that other people could do the same. And one of the things, to kind of go off on a side note here, that if you see behind me, this room, this is part of a house that my wife and I bought a year ago that we're renovating into an art gallery. It's a 150-year-old home in our community. We're wanting to make this into an art gallery, and then the upstairs is my new art studio. But part of that is we want to have open drawing nights. And one of those open drawing nights, I want to open up to first responders in this region. And it's going to be free. You come here, we're going to have a model, or we're going to have something there to draw. It's non-judgmental. You don't even have to be an artist. That's not the point. It's to come here, draw something, to get that creative, get something else flowing within you, where you may be able to use that creativity to deal with a lot of things. And it doesn't always have to be what you saw in law enforcement, EMS, or fire, or even the military. It could be just things you're dealing with at home. But at a creative way, some type of outlet to be able to channel that onto paper.
That's wonderful.
And to have some fun doing it, to have some laughs. So that is one of the things that we want to do. And I feel that, I've been given an opportunity with this space to facilitate and hopefully make a difference.
So tell me what else you're working on and what's in the future for you.
So the gallery, I wish I could take the laptop and walk you through here. It's a beautiful, beautiful old home. I could talk for 30 minutes about the history of this place. But the gallery is new. We're gonna be doing that. Hopefully, opening before the first of the year. We'll see about that. It's currently illustrating the third Sprinkles the Fire Dog book. So we'll have that available sometime before Christmas, and still just doing a lot of artwork, and wherever that creativity leads. Getting back to one of the reasons we bought this place was to get a bigger studio, so I could get back into more fine art and get away from doing the digital drawing as much and get back to my roots.
Right.
Get back to that, drag a pencil on paper and creating something that way, something that takes time.
Do you have a favorite medium?
I do. It's still pencil.
Okay.
It's still pencil. Yeah. I've always loved drawing because that is the most fundamental of everything that we do. And, you can't be a great painter without knowing how to draw. So I love that fundamental of being able to take an image, put it on paper, and it's just you and a pencil. That translates into whether it be colored pencil or pen and ink. It doesn't really matter. It's just that type of medium and being able to translate what I'm seeing.
Do you have an opinion about using traditional materials versus going digital?
I don't have the opinion with that as much as I do AI.
Okay.
Yeah. So, even as a digital artist, if I've got an iPad or I've got this huge Wacom Cintiq that I draw on, you still have to know how to be an artist. Mm-hmm. I still have to understand colored theory. I still have to understand how spatially works within the frame that I'm doing. Even with cartoons, like I said, there's a way that I want your eye to read the cartoon. So I get the point in the way that I want to get the point. So there's still the artist still has to be present in the room. Where I've got the problem is where people are just throwing in some prompts and creating something and calling it art. I understand this argument is ages old. We had the same argument when, you could take a computer and do some art. Then this digital drawing thing came along. It evolves, but the artist has always had to be present in the room until now.
Yeah, you're going to have the AI crawl 10,000 examples of political editorial cartoons and then just regurgitate pieces of it slammed
Yes.
together. Yeah, that bothers me. I'm hearing more and more commercials on podcasts. I don't do commercials on my show, but I hear commercials on podcasts that are completely AI generated,
Right.
and they're not even using a voice actor. The script, the speaking, it's all AI generated, and that's just like, that hurts my soul. Yeah.
Yeah. It does, because I mean, it kills that inner creativity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So part of our industry as artists is going to die. It's just inevitable.
Yeah.
The magazine artists, the book cover artists, these people that are getting paid good money to take days and days, if not months, to create something, someone's going to be able to type in a prompt and do.
Yeah, all the entry-level jobs are going to be taken away, which means there's going to be a thinning group of experienced creators who have already gone past those jobs that AI have now absorbed.
Right.
And as they age out, retire, pass away, where do we get a new set of veteran creators if all the entry-level jobs are being done by computer? And so that's a problem.
And that's one of the things that we were excited about with the gallery that we're doing. Is one of the reasons that I've always had the ability to look into the future as a business person and play the chess game and put pawns in place, because I know things are going to actually start to change. So as someone who draws and illustrates for magazines or logo design or those sort of things, I understand those jobs are going away. So I better start putting things in place now.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happens, I'm set up to move forward.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we want to really promote are hand created art pieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's not going to be digital art. I'm not even going to demonstrate or display my digital created art here.
Yeah.
In my own gallery.
Yeah.
This is going to be something where you had to have the art utensil in your hand and you actually physically created it. Now we're going to sell art prints and that sort of thing of that type of work.
Sure.
But the original piece had to be created by a human. Again, the artist had to be present in the room.
That's beautiful. That's fantastic.
And I think there's going to be more of an importance to that as this new AI technology takes hold. And again, I'm not bashing it because it's going to do some amazing things.
Sure.
But like everything else, there's a way of taking that down a road where it's not so favorable.
Yeah.
And I think that type of artwork is going to be generic. It's going to be stale. It's going to be stagnant. And people will come back to original art.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in a different way. You're never going to be able to do magazine and book illustration, that sort of thing, the way that we've done it in the past. But to be able to buy a piece of artwork, to know that the artist's hands touch that work, I think that's going to become more valuable than ever.
Yeah.
In the future.
Absolutely. Paul, it was fantastic talking to you.
This has been fun.
I've so appreciated you doing this. I appreciate the work you do. If I can, I want to close. I think that my favorite piece that I've seen, and I've not seen all of your work, I've seen hundreds of examples, but I think it was maybe the first one I ever saw. And it was the firefighter sinking through the water surrounded by sharks.
Right.
That one, I think it was one of the first ones, and it grabbed me. It really grabbed me, because really that could have been a cop, that could have been a chaplain, that could have been any first responder. And that is one that I have actually redrawn for the military and for EMS. And be quite honest, I want to say that I redo a law enforcement version of that same cartoon. I've only seen the firefighter version.
Yeah. I'm almost positive that I did a law enforcement version of that as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'd like to see that sometime.
Sure.
That's fantastic. Well, Paul, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to both parts of Paul Combs' interview. I hope that Paul's example inspires you to create, whether it's art or maybe music or building and repairing things with your hands. Be a person in this world who creates and leaves a legacy. You already spend enough time cleaning up after other people's destruction. On the next episode of Hey Chaplain.
The majority of people will end up drinking a lot to try to get back to sleep and quiet the dreams. And so then they end up with a drinking issue and they still have nightmares. So it will be very effective for a short period of time where you could drink to pass out. But in your sleep cycle, you have to get to sleep, you have to stay asleep, and then you have to wake up. And unfortunately, the more that you drink, it starts to affect the staying asleep part. So guys that were drinking, they wake up at 1, 2, 3 in the morning like an insomniac, and then they can't get back to sleep. And so then they drink more to try to get to sleep. And then some of them start to calculate in their mind, how much could I drink so I could be sober enough to get into my shift? I've been in mental health now for 28 years, and I have not met a single person that alcohol has helped them in the long-term solution.
As always, this show is free for everyone because of those supporters who are quietly helping behind the scenes. If you want to help this show reach more cops, chaplains, and other first responders around the world, please consider supporting the show by following the link in the episode description. The views expressed here are the personal views of the host and our guest and do not necessarily represent the views of any first responder agency or its components. If you like this episode, please share it with a cop or someone who loves a cop. Thank you for listening to Hey Chaplain, and as always, pray for peace in our city.